You've probably seen photos like this: empty corridors, abandoned waiting rooms, a foggy parking lot under harsh lights. They're called liminal spaces, and they tend to feel strange, almost wrong. These places don't scare you like a horror movie, but they still leave you unsettled. So what exactly is a liminal space, and why does it feel so uncanny? Let's take a closer look. What liminal actually means. The word liminal comes from the Latin word limen, meaning threshold. It refers to something that exists in between states, neither here nor there, not one thing or the other. In psychology and anthropology, liminality describes a transition. It's a phase of change, like adolescence, grief, or a rite of passage, where you're not who you were, but not yet who you'll become. In architecture or design, a liminal space is usually a transitional zone. A hallway, a stairwell, an airport terminal, a hotel lobby at night. These places exist to get you somewhere else. That's their only purpose. They're not destinations, they're connections. Feel-off liminal spaces usually don't disturb us when they're full of life. But when they're empty, or lit the wrong way, or photographed at odd hours, they become unsettling. Why? One reason is context. We associate these spaces with movement, people, background noise, or a clear purpose. When those things are missing, the space feels disconnected. It's familiar, but incomplete. That contradiction triggers unease. Another reason is temporal mismatch. We see a space that looks like it should be used, but it's not being used. That makes us question, why is no one here? What happened? Is something wrong? It's not fear in the traditional sense. It's confusion, and the brain doesn't like confusion. This brings us to the idea of the uncanny, something that is both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. Sigmund Freud described the uncanny as something that feels known, but in the wrong context, like a lifelike doll or a robotic voice that almost sounds human. Liminal spaces often fall into this category. They're normal places seen at the wrong time or in the wrong way. They trigger low-level anxiety, not because they're threatening, but because they're out of place. They don't follow the usual rules of how we experience space, time, and meaning. It's a gap between expectation and reality, and we notice it instantly, even if we can't explain why. There's also a memory component. Many liminal spaces remind us of early memories, like school hallways, daycare centers, or waiting rooms. We saw these places often, but we didn't understand them fully. They were part of life, but not places we paid attention to. As adults, when we revisit similar spaces, it's hard to place them. They feel familiar but not specific, like déjà vu. They might also remind us of moments of change, moving to a new school, waiting for something to happen, being in between stages of life. In that way, the space becomes a symbol of transition. That adds to the eeriness, because transitions are often uncomfortable by nature. Digital culture and the rise of liminal aesthetics. In the last few years, liminal space photography has become popular online. Social media accounts collect photos of empty malls, foggy intersections, carpeted office spaces, indoor playgrounds with the lights off. There's even a whole genre called backrooms, fictional spaces based on distorted memories of public areas. Why does this resonate? One theory is that our generation has spent a lot of time in non-places, buildings designed for function, not comfort. Schools, waiting areas, shopping centers, hotel chains, spaces that are technically different, but all feel the same. When those spaces are shown empty or out of use, we feel something unresolved. It's not nostalgia exactly, it's more like recognition without meaning. Despite the unease, people seek out liminal images. They stare at them, share them, save them. Part of the reason may be that these images create psychological space, a pause. They pull us out of overstimulating environments and drop us into something that feels slowed down, disconnected, and still. Another reason is that liminal spaces don't demand anything. There's no person to talk to, no goal to achieve, just a strange quiet. In a world that's constantly asking for attention and reaction, liminal spaces let you stop. Even if what you feel isn't comfort, it's still something real, what they might be telling us. Some researchers suggest that our reaction to liminal spaces reflects something deeper, a response to the modern world. We live in a time where many people feel in between jobs, between cities, between stable identities or futures. Liminal spaces might reflect that in a physical form. They're symbols of in-betweenness, unfinished, unresolved, uncertain. And maybe that's why we keep returning to them, because we recognize ourselves in them, even if we don't fully understand why. Liminal spaces are places of transition. They hold a feeling that's hard to explain, but instantly recognizable. If you've ever looked at an empty hallway and felt something strange, you're not alone.